to Playbook for Performance, the official podcast of Shauna Corden, the Joan of Arc for corporate healing and performance. Join the quest to make work fun again by preparing leadership for engaging workplaces. And now, your host.
Hello and welcome, friends. I'm Shauna Corden, and I'm glad to have you here on the Playbook for Performance podcast. Our mission is to make work fun again by building better leaders. This month's theme is all about engagement, and if you have a specific question on engagement, please email us and we can add it to our social media. You can drop a note to podcast@shaunacorden.com. Now, last week we talked about flow and how it relates to engagement, and today we're talking about your gifts and strengths. So just to recap the definition of engagement, we're talking about a combination of productivity, profitability, and retention. How do we discover our gifts and strengths? I'll go so far as to name it grace, as my mentor calls it. At times, I think it's related to our values. Those things that we've held dear and played with since we were children. I often say those who drew treasure maps marked with X are the ones that are doing adventure travel today. Other times I think it's different. Something we simply excel at without 10,000 hours of training or practice, and we enjoy it. Often we downplay these gifts. We think if it's easy for me, it's easy for everyone, but it's just not true. It's part of our essence. The egg yolk of our nature is eggs. Regardless of how those eggs are served or presented on the outside, the egg yolk still has its essence. It's timeless. I'm challenged this week with the death of a friend, a sweet, dear boy who grew into adulthood alongside my girls, always adored by my family. We were genuinely delighted to see him when running into him at the store or a football game. Genuinely interested in the latest developments of his most recent adventures. That bright light extinguished for us here, although I'm heartened knowing his light continues in another space. His essence remains, and how he made us feel remains. I think of his gifts, creative, upbeat, always with a smile. These gifts and your gifts are what people remember about you, your brand. My mastermind group was sharing methods for planning the other day. One was to think of your funeral, and the greatest version of you attends, the fearless one who displays their gifts and has lived the better life, the healthier one, the one full out, and I suppose pities the small self. Another being this idea of being on your deathbed, surrounded by your gifts and talents, angry because they still had so much to give. But your selfish and insecure tendencies never allowed them to play full out. Both of these scenarios are built to figure out what is the song unsung. When I work with my clients, I ask them the following. What are the consistent themes that people tell you you're good at? Teachers, work evaluations, sincere friends. Have you taken an assessment to uncover your strengths? What are you naturally inclined to think or do? What are you fall out of bed naturally good at and enjoy? This last question coming from Gallup's Strengths Finder. These answers help reveal your essence. They don't necessarily point you to a profession, since so many gifts are transferable to many professions. But they do help you focus on the activities you perform and to amplify them to the biggest wedge of your personal performance pie chart, meaning let's find the role that is the most satisfying because the greatest percentage of your time is spent conducting tasks or activities that are your gift or strength. I took the Strengths Finder years ago, and while I can say I wouldn't have used the terms that Gallup used for these themes, I certainly agreed with them and find I enjoy them tremendously. My own are maximizer, positivity, activator, strategic, and input. I use these strengths regularly in my work as a coach, and I'm thrilled to say it's the majority of my own pie chart, making my own work very rewarding and satisfying. I want the same for you and your team. Imagine how wonderful our planet would be if everyone was using their gifts and strengths. And this leads me to announce an even more of a refinement to my own pie chart. I recognize in the past, I prided myself on being able to tame the lions. Or if you've listened to my podcast on the jerk whisperer, the jerks. Although I excelled in this space and was fall out of bed good at it, I've realized this is not where I want to spend my time. These clients aren't the vibe I want surrounding me. The clients I've really enjoyed over the years were a layer below these. They were the directors or VPs who wanted to get to the next level, but didn't want to compromise to achieve it. They were the ones that had a good sense of humor and were intentional about the culture they wanted to bring with them and shake up the old command's ways. They were emotionally intelligent. Sometimes to really fill the pie chart with our strengths and gifts, we have to let go of things that we're good at, but don't feed us. I'm refocusing my client base to be those that are part of this new renaissance, a new way of bringing in multiple perspectives to be generous and wise. And I'm interviewing prospective clients and ensuring that they want to be the good and bring the good to their families, staff, and workplace. I'll bring my lightness, intuition, faith, femininity, discipline, humor, as well as my Gallup strengths of positivity, strategy, and activator to the partnership, as well as input to maximize your success. When I'm in the right partnership, I make everything I touch better. My background in project management, coaching, and as a business owner round out my enthusiasm and encouragement. It's the ideal combination for my ideal client whose attributes include ethics, ambition, optimism, a sense of humor, a desire to work on things bigger than themselves, innovative, willing to trust their intuition, willing to do the work, but also with strong boundaries to be with family and sharpen the saw, eager to take risks, and slightly okay with learning from failure, disciplined, and they follow through. If you're a leader who's ready to bring this to the new renaissance to your workplace and you have these qualities, we are a win-win and I want to talk to you. Schedule some time with me. And that brings us to our tool of the week, the StrengthsFinder Assessment. You can either purchase the book with the free code in the back, or you can go out to the Gallup StrengthsFinder website and take the assessment from there. I love how they show how each theme plays out in dramatically different roles, from Hollywood producer to none. If you'd like to look at your team's strengths and how they can help your team be more engaged, again, engaged being productive, profitable, and retaining talent, you can schedule a workshop for your team by emailing me at shauna@shaunacorden.com. So here's your field work, because coaching without action isn't coaching, it's just entertainment. Draw a pie chart of the major buckets of work you do for your role. How satisfying is each slice of the pie for you? Can you overlay your strengths and gifts with the pie? If not, perhaps a different role is in line, or having a candid conversation with your leader about how you can play with your strengths. Create a plan to move to a very satisfying pie. If you need help with this, I can help. I love helping leaders who are ready to be playing to their strengths and making changes to improve the quality of the workplace for everyone. Each week in the podcast, I like to highlight a leader doing it well in the news or from a listener, and one that had a wobble. And if you'd like to nominate your organization, please email me at podcast@shaunacorden.com. This week, I have something different. I was able to recently attend a talk by Ken Druck, who's the father of the late Jenna Druck. He works with the grieving and provides the space to recognize that grief is hard and it doesn't go away, although it changes. And I encourage you to check out his work. I know when my own father died, it kicked me hard. And a friend shared what someone had shared with her. You'll never get over it. You might get used to it. I found that to be true. That's all for this week. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, give us a rating, tell your friends. If you'd like to hear more about a topic that would make your work fun by improving the leaders in your organization, please drop us a line at podcast@shaunacorden.com. Until next week, take good care.
thank you for listening to Playbook for Performance. To learn more about Shauna Corden, her consulting programs and tools, please visit her website at shaunacorden.com and follow us on social media at Shauna Corden.